Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name is Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com, and Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. And today my guest is Len Garza from the United States, and Len is an attorney, a corporate attorney to be in fact, and he's focused on startup companies, emerging companies, and the middle market. He helps to structure businesses to optimize growth and protect their assets. He has extensive experience in drafting and negotiating a wide variety of business agreements, including those with shareholders, vendors, clients, partners, and more. He also handles other types of transactions, including real estate, banking and finance, and wills and trusts. Although he's in the United States, the law would not be too much different as far as startup companies are concerned. I know that in Australia there are, certain legislations and so forth, and I'm pretty sure that that would be the same in the US, but the overall principle would be the same. So Len's been doing this for over a decade. He's representing companies and business owners and other stakeholders. So let's hear a little bit more from Len about how he could help startups and his advice on starting up a new business and what he believes is a good time to be doing that. Hi, Len, and welcome for joining me today.
Hi, Rose. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit more about how you can help startups and why you think 2020, because we were discussing that previously, why 2020 was a good year to be a startup.
Sure. So, Rose, you really laid out what I do, in a very excellent way. And so I'm a startup lawyer. Really a business corporate lawyer, but a lot of the work I've been doing lately, especially this year in 2020, and it looks to continue on in 2021, is helping startup companies. Now, when people hear startups, a lot of times they think, high-tech companies, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be new companies, high-tech, low-tech, or no-tech. So it's startup businesses, emerging businesses, and businesses that have maybe been operating for a few years and looking to level up into their growth. So I help all of these types of businesses, and some people, the obvious question may be this year with everything going on into 2020, start a business this year. Len and Rose, that sounds absolutely crazy. You must be mad. Well, tell that to a lot of the business owners, new business owners that I've helped form businesses for this year. And just, one of the exciting things that I like about working in this specific area of the law, this specific section of business law, is you get exposed to so many different areas, the passion of the business owners. And that's what I see every year, but really especially this year, when there's so much negativity on the news and negativity in the world, very easy to find negative stories. Whenever I talk to these entrepreneurs, these new business owners, and they could be coming from another business they started or from the corporate world, working for a very large corporation, very large company, and they're essentially striking out on their own using all the business experience that they've gained and going out and going this direction. It never fails to be inspiring to watch them and see their ideas grow, even especially in a very difficult year like 2020.
Why would, though, someone be starting a business in 2020? You would think that, this would be the absolute worst year to be starting a business.
Right, one would think, but when you look closer at the details, Rose, there are definitely opportunities to be had. It's kind of like Warren Buffett's the quote that he has about investing. I think it applies to small businesses. Be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. So when everybody's fearing that there aren't opportunities out there in the startup context, there actually are. It's counterintuitive if you know where to look, and if you have the right idea. A lot of the business owners that I'm dealing with and have helped start it, this didn't just come off as a whim or something that they decided. They've had ideas they've thought about for a while. The circumstances haven't been right until maybe this year. And I want to be frank. I mean, let's be clear. There's never the perfect time to start a business, right? I mean, there are always obstacles, always things that can get in the way. And I guess that's part of the challenge of it. Feel the fear and do it anyway. There's uncertainty out there. And business is an inherently risky endeavor, but you can take calculated risks and go and have something be, very successful if you take the right step. And a few of those right steps are making sure that you have a solid business idea, a well thought out business idea, and that you don't go it alone, that you have what I like to call put together a superstar team of advisors. Even though you're a business owner, many people think, oh, it's me on my own. You're actually not on your own. There's no rule that says that you can't ask for and get help. Quite to the contrary. Talk to others that have been there before, other business owners. Talk to advisors, for example, CPAs, attorneys, business attorneys, bankers, all kinds. Utilize your professional network or utilize others, advisors who have that network, so you can stand on their shoulders in making decisions and make decisions, business decisions with your eyes fully open, or at least as open as much as possible. So really, to get back to your point, Rose, why would this year be a good time? Well, as long as it's not on a whim and you have a solid business idea and you think through your fundamentals, it could be great. Further off, you may be able to actually, the bet on yourself in starting a business may actually be more stable, if you can call it that, than maybe looking for another position in a big corporation where, due to the economy, due to the pandemic, a lot of them are going through layoffs. A lot of people that are starting businesses feel, well, hey, at least I feel more in control of my own business than I am working for, one of these big multinational or big national businesses, to where, essentially you may be just a cog and your whole division may be laid off. So in good times, that argument may not hold sway, but in less good times, in pandemic times, there definitely is sense to be made of going off and starting your own business if you have fundamentals.
Yeah, would you advise a startup, not necessarily a company, but even just a small business, to have a solicitor or an attorney on side in the very beginning and not leave it until there's some litigation happening?
I would. It's better to be proactive and talk to an attorney or solicitor early in the process. Even if you don't know why exactly you would be talking to them, and especially you don't know why. I help a lot of business owners who, very wisely realize there are things that they know they don't know, and there are things that they don't know that they don't know. There's a whole universe of considerations. They're getting into business for their specific business, whatever that be, whether it be technology, say, healthcare, restaurant, manufacturing, whatever it is. And there are just too many different considerations to take into account. When starting a new business, you can't do it all. Nobody should be an expert in all of it. You need somebody on your side as far as taxes, tax implications. That old saying, death and taxes. You can't get too far into planning your business without real tax and legal implications being very important right up front. So I'd say, look, talk to an attorney right off the bat. And this is a multidisciplinary approach. So talk to an attorney, have your attorney talk to your CPA or accountant, and have them talk to each other if you already have an accountant or have an attorney. I think as I talk to my clients, it's a multidisciplinary approach. There's no one advisor that fits all. The world's too complex, business is too complex, but you make sure that you have all your advisors, that the best situations that I've seen with my own clients is where all the advisors are in communication with each other and we all are on the same page. and we're talking about various implications of whether it be starting a new business, restructuring the business, whether you're seeking funding from outside investors, venture capital, making sure you're structured correctly, and what may be the tax implications of some of those moves. So definitely get started in the beginning, because it only gets more complex from here on out. So the earlier you can get somebody involved, the better. Can really save you frustration and time down the line. The least of which is money. You'll pay money up front, but the money you'll save down the line will be big, especially in the case of litigation. Because if you're getting a lawyer or a solicitor involved at the time of litigation, odds are you're probably already in a hole trying to get out of the litigation. And most of the time you would have been much better served if you had an attorney involved, months or even years in advance to be able to prepare and defend against things like that.
So I know a lot of businesses, startups especially, don't think about succession planning. What is your advice on that?
Succession planning is so big, Rose. I don't want to say nobody, but it's very easy to start off with things and not think of the end in mind, right? It's very similar to getting married, get into a marriage. Nobody wants to think about the possibilities of it ending or what would happen. You get into a business relationship, if it's just yourself or with another partner, a couple of other founders, you're excited, you're enthusiastic. What do we do? What do we need to do to get this off the ground, to grow? That's fantastic. That's great. You absolutely should do that. But part of the wisdom and the reason to get a lawyer involved is the lawyer will keep you grounded. I'll come in and say, look, that's great. You guys and ladies focus on all that. But I want to make sure you turn your attention to succession planning. What if one of you dies? What if one of you falls ill? What if one of you just wants out? It all works for you right now, but a year, 2 years, 5 years or more down the line, one of you realize, you know what, I'm growing apart from this organization, or I want to do something else. There should be some type of exit planning, something that's not going to sink the business or cause the business to grind to a halt. And the only way that you can make sure that doesn't happen is to have a succession planning in place. And what is succession planning? Well, succession planning is having a plan written out in writing with contingencies that happen in a number of different situations that could cause one of the partners or founders to leave the business, and detailing exactly what happens when that happens, laying out time frames for that to happen, and how the business is to go about proceeding in an orderly fashion. And really the only way to do that is you have to do the hard work. You have to have the difficult conversations amongst all the founders and partners, realize what you want, and an attorney facilitates that. And once you figure out the plan that all of you want, all the contingency plans, the attorney puts that in writing, make sure that's all set out, and then that's certainty. And then you can put that away in a drawer or a virtual folder on the cloud or on your laptop or what have you, and say, look, that's peace of mind. We can put that away and hopefully not have to think about it until something like that happens. But when an event that would lead to a succession event happening, it's a breath of fresh air when you all as business owners can look at each other and say, we have a roadmap for what to do now, rather than, oh, what do we do? Let's call an attorney. I'm dealing with a few situations now where those succession plans aren't in place, and they are a lot more costly because you're going to have to get attorneys involved anyway, but they're a lot more costly. There's a lot more uncertainty and a lot more potential for disputes to break out because you don't have a plan that was laid out years in advance. Now everybody's kind of making up the plan as they go along, and that could potentially lead to resentment and put the business at risk. So
can there be changes made to a succession plan throughout the time that, that their business is going successfully, or is it set in concrete?
No, absolutely, you can make plans, or you can make changes to the succession plan. Many times it's very common actually for changes to be made to the succession plan. And that's something where we're having a lawyer or a solicitor on your side, having them as what's called a lot of times outside general counsel, meaning that they don't actually work specifically for your company, but you have them on retainer, so to speak. Anytime you have a question, you can call them, email them, and there you are. That's the capacity I serve at a lot for these companies. But sure, I have it happen all the time where there's that initial plan set. A couple of years down the line, 5 years down the line, or anywhere in between, they want to make a change just because there's been change in business circumstances, and we make the change. We make sure that that the proper records are kept, that the record keeping is intact for all those changes, and you make the change. So that's something that gets done quite frequently.
Yeah. So on this show, more often than not, we talk about the solo entrepreneur, and we haven't actually talked about partnerships or people getting into a business, so a proprietary company of whatever. So, and I know the laws are different regarding each of those. So if you're like a sole proprietor, you wouldn't need a succession plan so much because you would have your will, and that would be your succession plan for the passing of the assets to your family or whoever. Being a company, as you said, there's succession plan, and that's pretty much set out in concrete. That's like a contract between the partners. So getting into a partnership, how easy is it to dissolve a partnership? I mean, I'm not quite sure about the laws in the US, but here it can be quite cumbersome. What advice do you have for people if they want to actually dissolve their partnership or their company?
Right. So that, and you're exactly right. It's no different in the U.S., Rose, and I would imagine this could be the same could be said for many countries around the world, that the laws specifically, both locally within the state here in the U.S., but geographically and then throughout the whole country, there are multiple layers of laws to have to comply with. So in the U.S. law and many other countries, the contract, most often than not, the agreement, the partnership agreement, sometimes if you're a corporation here in the U.S., it's called bylaws, whatever it is, it's the agreement, the governing document for your entity. So let's talk about a partnership. So a partnership, if you have an agreement, you can lay out the specific situations that would result in dissolving the company. For example, if you had a partnership and someone were to die, in some states, some situation, that would be a situation that could potentially lead to dissolving, automatic dissolution of the partnership. Well, you may want to make sure that doesn't happen, and that you have a method for replacing that partner or putting somebody in their place. Or you want to make sure that partner, they're gone, and due to the laws within that particular state or area, maybe their spouse automatically gets their shares in the partnership or their interest in the partnership. Well, the partners may or may not have a prior relationship with that spouse, but in any event, most of the times they don't, and they didn't contract to be in a business partner with the spouse. They contracted to be in business with the deceased partner. So what happens then? If you don't have a written partnership agreement or a written corporate agreement outlining that, you're going to be stuck in most likely a very difficult and very cumbersome, to put it mildly, situation just because of the law within your specific area and states. And a couple of ways that could go if you don't have that agreement. Either you're barred completely from getting out or doing what you want to do, or there is a way to do it, but it's very expensive and very cumbersome. You may have to go to court. You may have to apply for court intervention. and the court may take a long time, could take months to make a decision. All the while you're racking up costs to try to get this done. All of this could have most likely been circumvented had you gotten an agreement that lays out the instructions for these eventualities at the beginning. So to echo your point, Rose, it can be very, very cumbersome, to say the least. It could be outright prohibited to get it out of a partnership if you don't have an agreement.
Yeah, I do agree. I think in any situation where there's more than just yourself, always get something in writing, get it signed by a solicitor, whatever. Make sure that you have a legally binding document to get in and to get out, because I think it can cost you not only money, but it could cost you your health. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Anyway, any more wise words, Len, before we finish off for today?
Well, I would just say, when you go into these agreements, you want to make sure, like I said earlier a little bit, Rose, I touched on, it's so important, you want to make sure that you have the right team on your side. There's not going to be one size that fits all. It's not going to be one advisor that fits all. It's not going to be one accountant that fits all. One accountant or one lawyer, it's better than no advisors at all, definitely. But really the outcomes, the best situations, the startups and businesses that I've seen well positioned for success and for growth and to avoid problems and issues down the line, avoid litigation, are ones that have advisors and that keep their advisors close. So when that business, when the partnership, corporation, whatever type of entity, or even as a sole proprietor, a solopreneur, when you're thinking of a new move to make, a big move for your company, run that by your advisors. They could think of different things of, oh, that's a good idea. You'll also want to do X, Y, and Z before you do that. Or no business owner, maybe you should think about another avenue, because if you go forward, you're going to potentially be hit with these tax implications, or it's riskier for whatever reason. So it's essential to get the right advice going forward, and definitely if you do get the right advice, that gets you the best positioning for success in the future.
I totally agree with you. Now, have you written any books, or have time for writing books, or?
I'm on my way to that. I think, Rose. I write quite a few articles that I post on my website. I post them on other social media platforms, LinkedIn most specifically. And really, what I try to do by them is I try to educate. I try to educate and for example, and even though they're written in the States, as you mentioned, the underlying spirit and the ethos of these articles, they speak to business owners. So the details of some of the articles, aren't as important, for the States, that's fine, but the overall viewpoint are the same across many countries, definitely in Australia and the US. So, for example, we talk about common legal issues for business owners, what type of entities one would want to form, and the different considerations with that. Attracting and keeping top employees, top talent, top consultants, what have you, key employees, key directors, stock, equity compensation, different things to think about there. So there are a variety of different topics I cover, and maybe one day I will turn them into a book. So thank you for the idea, Rose. I'll put you in one of the first couple of pages.
That'll be great. Yeah, I'll
Sure.
look forward to receiving my signed copy.
Yeah, maybe, I would be only too honored to have you write the foreword once, the podcast is everywhere. So it's a deal. I think this is a contract that we have. I don't know.
I think, it'll be out in the world, it'll be out on the World Wide Web. So now we've got a contract. So it's
right.
It's not in writing, but it's a verbal one, and that means a lot if other people witness it. So there you go.
Exactly. There you go.
All right, Len, thank you so much. I'll make sure I put your LinkedIn link in the bottom of the in the comment section when I've posted these on the social networks and the the audio networks and everything that these get posted on. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope that I can speak to you again in the new year. It's having that legal insight is really very important for businesses, and I think I think that's a discussion that probably a lot more people should be listening to, because they do try to do it on their own, and it's not an easy journey. And if you have those advisors, as you suggested, it can make the journey a little easier for them.
Definitely. It helps you sleep better at night. So,
Yeah.
Rose, thank you so much for having me. And I would love to come back anytime, but thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Len.